So, um, I'm not yelling actually gave me a lot of thoughts about the way the metagame was heading, and there are a couple topics I want to address with this. Um, First off, just watch the Punish game in 2015, and you'll notice it's a little more optimized in 2014, and just the way that foxes are punishing tech chases. You see Leffen and other foxes begin to up smash the tech chase as opposed to just going for regrabs. We saw Kira versus Kirby Kaze was actually a big interesting topic for me, mainly because it really shows a shift in the mindset of Smash and Melee in 2015 as opposed to 2007. And we saw Kira and Kirby Kaze go right into the chain grabs, and this is something I was kind of shunned in 2007, and partly there was like a stigma with chain grabbing, and a lot of it comes from, you know, being if you're like a low tier, like Sheik essentially invalidated you in 2007 because she could chain grab you from zero to death. And so there's a lot of hesitancy of Sheik mains to really just go into the chain grab. There's commonly something known as the gentleman's agreement, where the Sheiks would agree not to do a grab that would lead into a direct grab. Not to get confused, you could still tech chase another Sheik in a gentleman agreement, or you can do like a grab into tilt into another grab. But for the longest time, unless you lived in the Midwest and you played draft and plank or taupe, most Sheiks would just agree to do the gentleman's agreement. Most value, even Meat King would actually, and they just valued the, I guess, that if you can die in 4 grabs, it just felt a little janky, and people wanted more play in it and not have everything boiled down to a grab. But in 2015, there weren't really any boos actually, and a lot of people seemed in favor in response to Kira beating Kirby Kaze that chain grabs are an okay thing, and we also see that wobbling has not a decent reception overall. A lot of people think it's reasonable to have in the metagame, and you hear a lot more cheers when people are doing wobbling. Although there are a lot of people that are naysayers to it. Joko Guy banned wobbling at his tournament. Overall, I think the greater audience has learned to accept that it's part of the game, and I believe that the direction we're heading is that the neutral game is going to matter a lot, but the punch game is going to matter more. And so, I think. So the classic example is if you want to watch a good match that indicates that, watch Leffen versus Santiago or Little Fumi. And Little Fumi actually plays a really good neutral game on Leffen, often using a strategic use of dash dance and just able to clip Leffen and actually win a lot of the neutral games. But Leffen still 2 to 3 stocked him, and that was because Leffen just had such an optimized game plan to get Santi off stage and just shine spike him at really absurdly low percentages, and he 2-stocked him. And if you really want to survive, you have to learn the chain grabs. You have to learn how to combo on platforms. You have to learn little things that can continue your combo or your punish. And we even saw this at the very end with Armada versus Mango. Armada's Peach was just fantastic, by the way. Just capitalizing on every little mistake that Mango did. And even though Mango was aggressive at any one opportunities, the risk reward of Mango getting like a 15% hit versus Armada killing you was just so significant that Mango could not win in those situations. And what the punish game really does is, if you really get a 0 to death, and this is something that like really happens in mid-level play, is once you start doing 0 to death combos, it really forces your opponent to play a very certain way, and they have a very certain mindset to playing against you. It's like, oh crap, if I do any sort of risk, I might die for it. If I approach, I might die for it. And what it gives you is some credibility, where they're going to give you more space. They're going to respect you. They're not going to do shenanigans, and in turn, it gives you more of an idea of how they're going to play, because they're going to play a lot more standard. They're going to play a lot more safe, and your reads will start to get better because they're not going to go for these like janky forward smashes. They're not going to go for anything in lag, and it makes their game a lot more predictable. And that's part of the reason why actually players like Niti King and Hungrybox are win as much as they do, is because their opponents, Niti King does a 0 to death chain grab, or Hungrybox finds this rest. A lot of people just play and they get themselves cornered and they play it so safe that they begin to just read them and tear them apart. And that's part of the reason why Hungrybox and Meat are so good, is because their punishments game is so good. And that's probably one of the main reasons why we have a Big Six versus everybody else. You just look at the consistency of the Big Six's punish game. None of them really have a bad one. And when you look at PPU, you look at Shroom, you look at the second tier players, they drop a lot of things. They don't continue the combos as long as they can. And so they have to win a lot more neutral games. And let's say it's like a 50-50 on who wins a neutral game. Well, if you take a stock, if you do 60% every time you get an opening, and I only do 40%, then when the variance plays out, it's always going to favor the player that does the punishment more often. And so we wonder why people are so consistent in the Big Six. Just look at their punish game. They can have sloppy neutral games or little instances where the other player wins, but you play it out for 4 stocks, they're coming up on top the majority of the time. You put them in a best of 5 set, the variance is going to swing eventually in their favor because they're winning so much. And so that's what I think about the metagame. It's actually going to be really exciting just to see people get opened up and like take 70, or you see these decision trees that don't seem random, but they seem like, when you watch it, it's like, wow, that was a really smart decision tree to cover multiple options, to extend my combo, to keep pressure going, and yeah. And so that's my thoughts on the 2015 meta, and I'm really just excited just to see what the Summer Smash will be like.